As well, got a tough game on Wednesday against Louisville. We're in a stretch here. We're going to play, looks like 4 nationally ranked teams in a row, starting with Virginia on the road last week, Duke Saturday, Wednesday home Louisville, and then Sunday home against Virginia Tech. Louisville is a really good basketball team. They defend at a very high level. They play an aggressive type pack line defense like Virginia. They don't give up easy baskets. They don't give up offensive rebounds. They contest shots. They do a great job of keeping the ball out of the post. They mix up their ball screen coverages, and they have a lot of activity on the ball. So we're going to have to really move the basketball and take great shots and make them, to have a good chance to beat them. Carlick Jones, I think, is one of the premier guards in the league. He's really good. He's transferred from Radford. High usage means that I think he's 4th in the ACC in usage, which means the majority of their possessions end with the ball in his hands. David Johnson is an outstanding three-point shooter, and they've just got a lot of 6'7" long, athletic guys. I thought last week we made strides from Georgia Tech. We were really awful on offense against Georgia Tech. They played a lot of zone. We just weren't – I did a poor job of preparing the team for that. We don't see a lot of zone in practice, so I thought we were really poor at attacking it. I think that showed a little bit too where we missed Ian DeBose. Ian is a guard that can really get in the gaps, not afraid to penetrate the zone or man. And I think against zone, you got to be able to put the ball on the deck and get in the gaps and make plays. And we went to east and west, not enough north and south. I thought against Virginia, we really moved the ball well, side to side, cut, screened, drove it, and made some shots and was in the game, for relatively 32 minutes or whatever it was. And then I think the same story against Duke on Saturday, just a different type of team, pressure team. So we played zone, played pack line, and we played against pressure. I thought our guys did a pretty good job of handling the pressure for the most part until, again, late in the game when we gave up way too many offensive rebounds. And we turned the ball over a little too much for us to get a chance to win a game like that at Duke. We got to clean those things up to have a chance to beat nationally ranked teams. And fire away.
Steve, I guess first let's just knock it out. Is there anything you can tell us about Ian, or just maybe if you have a clear timeline about when he maybe starts practicing again?
No, Ethan, I don't. There's got to be another round of tests. That hasn't been done yet. I don't really know the timeline on that. I'll try to find out for you guys so I can give you an update. But he can't just go back out there based on a certain amount of days. He's got a battery of tests that he's going to have to, pass, which you can imagine. And then, he's got to get back in shape. I mean, you saw how hard it was for our guys when they're out 3 weeks. You can imagine what it'll be like for him, and so it's not like he's an Olympic athlete either. But I'll try to get that. I'll try to help you with that a little bit. Maybe I can find something out this week. Okay.
Steve, what about Emma? While we're updating player statuses, what about Emma?
As far as
when he could be available, if he's
he's been available.
Got a timeline.
He's never been. Emma's been on. I just haven't played him. He wasn't available for Catawba, I believe, and then he's been on the bench ever since. So that was just my decision.
I guess going off that point about the playing nationally ranked teams.
No.
Yeah, does that get the guys up at all? I guess, or do you have to try to prevent, a team that's still growing and learning, kind of prevent that from maybe beating them down a little bit when you've got a stretch like this? Just how do you approach that?
I mean, I think, Ethan, that's a good question. I think really truthfully, when you play in the ACC, that's pretty much the level of expectation that most often nights you're going to play against a nationally ranked team. And so I don't think they put a lot of stock into that. I mean, that was probably a little bit more coach speak by me, than the kids. I don't think they really are affected by that a whole lot. I think the expectation is when you come here to play at Wake Forest, when you get in league play, you're going to play in big games against really good teams. And so I think that's probably more of that than anything. There's not 4 nationally ranked teams in the SoCon, so maybe I probably shouldn't, say that. But it's the truth. I mean, we are in that kind of but there's probably been many years in the league. You guys have been around here longer than me, maybe where you could have played more than that. I don't know. I would imagine there's always been a plethora of nationally ranked teams in this league, this year happens to be a little different, right? I mean, good for Clemson, good for Virginia Tech. They're up there in the national rankings, and so it's good for our league. But I don't think the players are probably affected by that as much as maybe the coaches.
Along the same lines, you've talked a lot about the team putting together maybe 32 minutes of good basketball and then kind of falling short down the stretch. How important is it for their psyche, I guess, to kind of finish a game out and then get rewarded with the victory sometime soon? Because they are doing some good things.
Oh, I think they're doing a lot of great things. And I think, Les, this is the whole problem. This is the root of the evil of not playing non-conference. When you are trying to, when you're putting in a whole new style, play, culture, system, identity. I think I said this before, when practice is really hard, they have to have some success. They have to see that this works, right? And, when we didn't have the opportunity to go out there and do that in December, I think that really hurt our development as a team. Now, to their credit, they made a big adjustment. They made a lot of changes and they got a lot better in about 6 days against really good teams. And so I'm proud of them for that, but there's no moral victories in this thing. And so, I want to win for them more than anybody, just so they can feel good about themselves. Now that doesn't mean that they don't. That doesn't mean they don't take pride in their performance when they play well. And they should. They just need to learn. They're trying to learn what it's going to take to get over the hump. And let's just call it what it is. We haven't won a lot around here in a while. And so it's not something that's ingrained in all of them. And really what it comes down to in the end is just, man, I think it's just making those 50-50 plays, those loose. If you don't give Duke those many offensive rebounds and you go down and score, game changes, if you don't get on the floor for a couple loose balls and they get them and they get extra possessions, the game changes. I don't think it really had a lot to do with our execution. I think execution-wise, we were pretty good. I can only remember in the last 2 games where we had to kind of chuck a shot at the end of the shot clock. I remember Davian shot one late against Duke on a side out of bounds that we kind of had a limited shot clock, and maybe one time against Virginia. Other than that, we're shooting shots out of the rhythm of our offense, which I'm proud of them for that. We just got to make some plays. And then, the turnovers are a problem. They have been a problem, though. It's not like it's not new. That's something I've seen since I got here. And so, it's just guys, again, having to make easier plays and not hitting more singles and hitting home runs, and once we get to that point, I think we will have some success.
How much of a learning opportunity has this past week been for Carter, starting against Virginia, starting against Duke? Obviously, you feel pretty good about some of the offensive stuff he did, but the 7 turnovers and Cameron, how big do you think it's been for him to get these types of reps?
Invaluable, right? I mean, he could be playing, I don't know the high schools over there, I don't know the names, but I'm sure he'd be getting about 25 or 30 every night. I thought he kept us in the game in the first half against Duke. I mean, he made some plays. Not only did he make some plays for himself, but he made plays for others. He's calm. Like there's a couple times Duke trapped him. He got trapped yesterday in practice a couple times, and he stepped through it, calmed down, and made the play. That's pretty veteran for a kid his age. It's like I told somebody last night, and I've said this before, he's should be playing in a fast food tournament, but instead he's getting a 7-course meal here in the ACC. I mean, and I think he's handled it well. I think probably 2 or 3 of his turnovers, guys, are just based on not being able to be in the weight room. He just got in tight space and got the ball stripped out of his hands, which I know a year from now, that's not going to happen, and he's seeing all kinds of different ball screen coverages that he did not see in high school. And he'll see they'll be aggressive. I'll guarantee you they'll come after him on tomorrow night, and you'll have to handle it. But I'm real proud of him, and he's confident, but not arrogant. You know what I mean? There's that fine line between having confidence but just being arrogant. I love his demeanor, how he plays. He's pretty unflappable. He doesn't get too excited if he makes a great play. He doesn't get too down if he turns it over. You got to have a short memory in this game. You know what I mean? You got to have a next play mentality, and I believe that he has that.
Have you recommended wearing a headband to him at all? Some people were interested, like how he keeps his hair out of his face.
I ain't too worried about that. I don't have that problem, so I really don't know how to relate to that. No, I mean, Carter, that's his hair. He'll deal with it the way, we've come a long ways in coaching, fellas. And I grew up in a time when, you didn't have hair like that, or, like John Wooden said to Bill Walton a long time ago. You guys know the story. It was his senior year, and Bill didn't want him to get a haircut. And Coach Walton said, well, that's good, Bill. That's your decision, and we'll really miss you this year. Okay. So Walton got on his bike and rode down, got a haircut, and barely got back in time for practice. That was in 1970, probably too, right? Well, this is 2021. And so, things have changed. I mean, you could compare Carter's hair to a lot of the hair you see on the court. There's some interesting hairdos out there, but that's his calling card, I guess, and good for him.
Steve, yesterday, you were kind of talking about that 32 minutes to 40 minutes, and you were talking about being able to show guys their role and what's not their role and kind of limit those turnovers. Is there a guy or a couple guys that you really think are like hitting the role that you need them to play right now?
I'm sorry. What kind of hitting the role or hit? What was it? I didn't hear what you said.
That are like really kind of doing well in the role that you think they should be playing right now.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Davian. Davian is a fearless competitor, and you have to be a fearless competitor. Not only throughout the game but the end of the game to win. He won a state championship in high school. Something to be said for that. Won a lot of games at East Tennessee State, and was a big part of it. So I think he gets it as far as, what it takes, down the stretch, to win a game. I think everybody's had their moments. I mean, I think Odie's just been in foul trouble. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. We need him on the court. Isaiah's showing great leadership. Nucius, he had a really big game against Virginia, but he's got 0 assists and 14 turnovers on the season. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen that stat before. We only have 2 players on the team with a positive assist turnover ratio, Davian and Isaiah Wilkins, who late in the game didn't move the ball. I mean, he got a couple opportunities where he had a chance to move it and get a guy a wide open shot, and he chucked up a shot off of 1 foot. And that's a big no-no for me is driving it in there and shooting the ball off of 1 foot. You got to play off 2. And that's another thing that Davian does a really good job of, and Carter does too, is playing off 2 feet. Can't play off 1 foot. You have the percentage of something good happening isn't very good when you play off one foot. You got to play off two. We work on it every day. And so we have 10 minutes of practice every day. I just call it basketball camp. It's just fundamental drills like you worked on when you were 12 years old at basketball camp, because the game don't change, just the players. And so, I mean, I think those guys, I'm looking at, sometimes I forget now. I think Jonah Antonio's bought in defensively. He's really improved a lot. To answer your question, he's a trustworthy defender, and he can make threes. He knows who he is. Like, you don't see Jonah out there trying to, create off the dribble. He knows that's not his game, but he's got to be a careful passer. And he made a really poor pass late in the game over the top to Masuda. It was a turnover. We just can't have those. And those turnovers lead to atomic bombs, which leads to, easy baskets on the other end of the court. So there's a few guys, and it's not from a lack of guys. I don't know why this email always shows up on my damn screen. They're trying. It's not like, I don't think anybody's like purposely saying, bucking the system. I think it's a matter of game experience and, doing the right things in practice. And that's how playing time is determined around here is you practice like you play like you practice. I'm just not a big believer in throwing somebody out there because the lights came on and all of a sudden they're going to do the right thing. And there's a level of accountability and trust that goes along with playing time. Accountability to the identity, accountability to the game plan, and the fact, do I trust you to do what we need to do to win the game? That's playing time. And so I think they're figuring that out.
One of the things we talked about back in November was that guys like Isaiah and Ish were pressing a little bit. Have you seen them kind of settle in the last week?
Yeah, for sure, Connor. I was really hard on Ish. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. He was, in the starting lineup, but starting's, I don't know. It's kind of, I guess it's interesting, but I think it really depends on who plays the majority of the minutes. I think that he has bought more into his role of what he can do for our team, and he's tried, and it's paid off, right? He's had back-to-back double figure games against good teams on the road, but he's playing to his strengths and stay away from his weaknesses. And that goes for everybody, but for sure, he's trying hard to rebound. He's trying hard to defend in the post. It's not really natural for him, but he's doing it. He's doing it. And the same thing with Mucius. He's moving the ball, and he's taking better shots. He's not forcing things. He's not pressing. Again, playing to his strengths and staying away from his weaknesses. And Zay's a good player, and he'll continue to blossom, I believe, the longer, that he's here.
Did that get worked? Did like them pressing, did that work itself out in the 3-week pause that you had? Was that like a little silver lining in there, or was it something that happened when they came back?
No, it didn't happen when they were sitting on the rear end. I can tell you that. Maybe when they're sitting on the rear end on the bench, but not. And no. I think it's more just Connor, just game experience and practice, and then correcting them and holding them accountable. I mean, to me, that's the, I don't mean to digress here, but I think Nick Saban might be the greatest coach in the history of any coach, period, not just football. And I think his unwavering desire to hold people accountable is incredible to the standards of the program and the culture that he set. He's unwavering in accountability, holding people accountable. That's a hard thing to do. Most people don't wake up every morning and want to do that because you can't be afraid of confrontation. You can't be afraid to tell people the things they don't want to hear. And I think that's what we're talking about here is telling those kids the things that they really don't want to hear, but it's the best thing for them. And then they have to be able to handle that and take it and change, and I give those guys are trying to do that. And I think the other guys are too. They're just not there yet, and that shows up. And that's why you have those flashes, of brilliance. And then, for whatever reason, you don't do those things. And then the game changes, right? It's got to be 40 minutes. And so I think we're getting there, but we're not there yet.
Coach, once upon a time, Chris Mack was on the bench as an assistant coach at Wake Forest. I'm curious, have you all ever crossed paths before? Is there any relationship that you have with Coach Mack?
Yes. First of all, we have the same agent. But Mac is probably, if I call and he calls at the same time, then he picks up Chris's call first because he makes way more money than I do. And so there's a pecking order when it comes to when your agent picks up their phone. Okay. I have to go back to when I got fired. 2000 and I don't know, 11, 12, something like that. I was at Northwest Florida, sitting in August on the beach. Well, I wasn't actually probably on the beach. I was probably at the house. And Chris Mack picked up the phone and called me. And he said that he was head coach Xavier. And he said that he wanted to meet me. His family was down there on vacation. So we went to the Donut Hole, which is a very famous, if anybody's been to Destin, that's a pretty cool little restaurant or breakfast spot. And we sat there and we talked. We probably talked for 2 hours. Never met him. Had a great visit. He wasn't recruiting my players. Didn't ask me about who can you help me with, who do you got? And I had great players, really good players. We just talked, got to know each other. And he wrote me a note after he got home. Unfortunately for him, he brought all the rain from Ohio to the Panhandle, so he had to really I don't think he had a great vacation because I think it rained the whole time. So, every now and then he's a Twitter guy, like he likes Dunkin' Donuts like I do, coffee, and so we kind of go back and forth once in a while on Twitter, and then I don't remember my third year we played Xavier. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. They were ranked 5th in the country, and I believe in the second half we had them down 22 points, something like that. We were whipping them, and then things changed, and it's probably the hardest loss maybe I've ever had, and the most helpless feeling I've ever had watching that thing disappear and not being able to help our guys. And in the end, he jumped in a 1-3-1, kind of that last gasp effort, and they beat us at the end, right at the end. And but after that, we won 16 in a row after that game. So I remember talking to you. I walked down the line after the game, and he was like, how as a coach, we dodged a bullet. Really not much you could say to that coach because I'm about to kill myself. I think he's a hell of a coach, but I think he's an even better person. He's really a good guy, and he's smart and he's funny. He's not afraid to make fun of himself, kind of like me. It's easy to do it to me, but I like him. And I think he's going to do great things at Louisville. We text and talk. He texted me at midnight Saturday night. It was weird. I was watching the Duke game, our game, and he was watching it. So we were kind of comparing notes. We'll leave it at that. And so, yeah, I think I do know him. He knows me. And he's very famous at Putters for the teriyaki double meat chicken, some salad that I went in there and ate one day and then went home and had a bellyache. So I can't eat it anymore. But it's good food, but it was just too much. But he's skinnier than I am. So he can afford it. But he's a good dude, man. And he likes Wake Forest a lot. We came here this summer. I was back in quarantine at home now, Johnson City. And he was sending me pictures of where the places he was going in Winston-Salem on the way down to the beach. So we do know each other.
Was he somebody that you reached out to when you were considering coming to Wake, or is there a former coach that you reached out to say, hey, what's it like coaching in Winston?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty top secret on those things. I think the more people you talk to, the more people talk to you. And so my experience in that has probably been a little bit more guarded when it comes to there. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there wasn't some people that I didn't talk to, but there wouldn't be anybody that anybody would probably know. These are people in my life that I trust, that I really trust. It's not going to pick up the phone and call Les Johns and tell him that I interviewed at Wake Forest. You know what I mean? Because that happens. Come on, let's be real. And so, no, I didn't talk to him. I'm sure, my agent probably, I got a lot of information from him, and I'm sure he got a lot of that, from maybe from Chris as far as the coaching side of it. But I think if we go back and really look at it, it's really just me and John, in that relationship. And then me truthfully talking to other coaches on the campus and people in administration and Mitch Shaw and those guys. I think that's one more than me talking to another coach.
Anything else for Coach, guys? All good? All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Roll Tide roll, right? Interesting.
Steve, were you as disappointed as we were when Devontae Smith got hurt and he couldn't put up like 400 yards?
Yeah. It was like watching a video game. And Amit, Louisiana is, I don't know if I'm from Lone Tree, Iowa. It's about the same thing. Okay. Amit, or whatever, he's from a small town. And what a classy guy, man. And I was touched. I stay up and watch all the interviews to see Coach Saban. I've never seen him get teary-eyed about it or use the word love twice about his players. Now, I'm not afraid to say that. I believe in that, but I've not heard Coach say that a whole lot, especially publicly. Now, he may say it privately, but for him to say how much he loved the team and loved that guy when he's talking about with Devontae Smith, that I think that tells you something about that team and about those kids. I grew up in the Big Ten, so you'd think I'd be an Ohio State fan, but I'm not. So I wanted to see the Tide win that, and that was a good game, until the second half. But it was a good night. It was a good night.
It's an SEC thing that you have to root for the team from your conference that isn't your team. The Big Ten, the ACC, all the other schools, like they want to see the teams from their conferences lose in those games.